Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at inspireddisorder.com/plus.
This is The Ray Taylor Show.
Welcome to The Ray Taylor Show, where I bring you the reviews on the latest movies and TV shows, as well as classic and foreign films. I'm your host, Ray Taylor, and on this podcast, I'll be talking about all things film and television. Whether you're looking for a new show to binge or want to know if that blockbuster is worth the trip to the theater, or just want to hear my thoughts on a classic or foreign film, I've got you covered. So join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for new episodes, and let's dive into the world of film and television together. On today's episode, I am talking about it's two titles, Drunken Master II or The Legend of Drunken Master. I knew this movie, titled The Legend of Drunken Master, came out in 1994, directed by Chia-Liang Liu, Jackie Chan. It's written by Edward Tang, Man Ming Tong, and Kei-Chi Yen, starring, of course, Jackie Chan, Long Ti, and Anita Mui. Forgive me if I butchered those names. The plot of this movie: a young martial artist is caught between respecting his pacifist father's wishes or stopping a group of disrespectful foreigners from stealing precious artifacts. The first movie, which I reviewed last week, Drunken Master, was a great origin story for this character, this folk hero, Fei-hung, where this movie is definitely more of a kind of just another story. I wouldn't say a direct sequel in any way. In the first movie, you have training montages, an overview of what kind of the drunken boxing style looked like, the different elements that go into that style, the 8 different styles that are within it. And this movie takes that character into what I would say a better story. Amazing fight sequences in this movie, crazy stunts, classic Jackie Chan movie. It had been a long time since I had seen this movie. I used to own both movies on DVD. Thankfully, I purchased this one through Apple. But there is something I found curious that I completely forgot that happens at the end of this movie, that happened at the end of the version of this movie I had on DVD, and apparently is a common thing and a crazy thing that I can't imagine why it hasn't been fixed. But I'll get to that. I'll get to that later. Overall, though, this movie blends comedy and action so well. Right? His stepmom in this movie is so epic. I forgot how amazing she is. It's so funny. So funny. Like, the differences from this one to the previous one, the father is a much different kind of a guy in this one. And he has a stepmom in this one who fights similarly to his aunt in the first one, like great kicks, able to fight with her legs very well. But the stepmom in this movie is hilarious. And like I said, the stepmom similar to the aunt in the first movie. Kind of like, also a lot like Lucille Ball. Like, if Lucille Ball knew Kung Fu, that is his stepmom, which is, it's like an amazing combination. I would love to know if they were in more movies together, but they were a great pair in this movie, I must say. It gets into the character of Fei-hung kind of being the practitioner of Chinese medicine. At least his father is somebody who acquires different herbs and things for medicine. So definitely connected to that aspect of this folk hero character of Fei-hung. The background story adds a lot to it in this movie, where you have the British stealing cultural artifacts from the Chinese. Another example of imperialism and capitalism being horrible, as people who are willing to sell their culture out for the right price, which is just sad. It's also mildly about workers' rights for the people who work at the steel factory that is a front for smuggling out these artifacts. So kind of almost a union movie as well. But the fight sequences are next level in this movie. The choreography is great. The differences in styles is great. From Fei-hung from like the different styles that Fei-hung himself fights with standard kung fu to the different elements that comprise drunken boxing, to the style that his stepmom fights with, to the style that the different managers of the factory fight with. Like, they all have a very unique style that they're fighting with that I really appreciated as well. And even just within Jackie Chan's character, Fei-hung, the different styles, not only from just kind of more of a standard kung fu style, and then the changes in the way it looks when he does the drunken boxing, but also how the drunken boxing looks when he's sober versus when he's drunk. And even within that, the next gear that he finds when he gets pissed off in that final fight. There are so many levels to just the performance Jackie Chan gives in fighting styles, which I think is so impressive. So all of that stuff, this insane, at the end, there's an insane issue with the audio of this dubbed movie. This movie that doesn't even have the original audio cuts out right after the final battle, right? And Jackie Chan blows a bubble, right? Which is referenced in his most recent movie, Hidden Strike, which is referenced in Shanghai Noon. Jackie blows his bubble. Audio cuts out for like the final where like the Chinese government is celebrating Jackie and his family for what they did protecting the artifacts. No audio whatsoever in a dubbed version, which I purchased through Apple, which when in watching it, I looked up online, and this is a common thing. Apparently, there are different versions of this movie. One version where Jackie Chan recorded the dub. I would imagine that version has audio for the very end. But it's like, I don't even understand how they couldn't just get other actors to at least record something for that final scene, which is crazy. It's so crazy that just like even if it was the original audio of the movie and not a dubbed version and the audio cut out, like, you would think they would have something to replace the audio. But for it to be the dubbed version is absolutely insane. And the audio comes back right when the credits start. So it's literally just the final scene of them being awarded. They do have subtitles, so you can hear, so you know what people are saying, but there is no audio. It is crazy. And I kind of remember that from when I had the movie. It's just, I mean, it's very unconsequential. There's not a whole lot that happens. It's almost a scene that could be cut from the movie entirely, but it was a great movie regardless. But I do want to talk about details of this movie, so spoilers for The Legend of Drunken Master from this point on. This movie's so great. It starts, and I forgot how great this movie was, even when it starts. It starts with Jackie is on a trip with his father and like their house servant guy friend, and they're going back home. They went to go get this ginseng root, probably other different medicines, and they have to pay taxes going on the train to go back home. And to avoid paying taxes, Fei-hung hides the ginseng in some rich people that are in first class, hides it in their suitcase, bumps into them. And which is kind of a fun scene. The other guy tries to do it too, but messes up. They get in. Dad catches somebody trying to pickpocket him. Right, the dad character is very interesting because he's somebody that seemingly doesn't know what's going on. There's all of these things going on. People are lying to him throughout. His family's lying to him. His son, his wife, all these people are lying to him. And it seems like it's somebody that knows what's going on, but allowing people to lie, but then also really feels like he doesn't know what's going on. Very interesting character. but he notices somebody, like, because this scene where he notices somebody pickpocketing him and getting it back is kind of shows that he actually knows what's going on around him. Regardless, we get to see a little moment of Fei-hung jumping in and out of this train window with ease, which is just like, ooh, it's not even close to the impressive things that are happening. So they're at a stop, right? Everybody's kind of getting food, and Fei-hung and the other guy, they're like, they need to go get the ginseng that's in this suitcase. So they're going to look for it, looking for first class, and they see the first class car, which is, just so nice. It's light years different than the standard cars that they are traveling in. So they use these ducks and chicken to flood the first class car in order to cause chaos, so Jackie can get in where the ginseng is, into the baggage compartment where the ginseng is, and some other thief gets in there, and this leads to Jackie chasing him and a great fight underneath the train with Jackie has a sword, this dude has a spear. The fight continues under the platform. Then the guy runs away to like this barn, and Jackie runs after him. And Fei-hung demands an apology for being called a traitor, and they end up fighting hand to hand. They're like, we're not going to use weapons. You insulted me. We're going to use our hands for this, right? And then the old guy insults his drunken boxing, and you hear the train about to leave, and the guy's like, you better go get it. You better go get it. But they kind of have this, like, form some mutual respect, and Jackie thinks that he got the package right. But they were both going after different things, and the old guy ends up with the ginseng, and Jackie ends up with this artifact that that guy was trying to get back. So it sets up Jackie getting intertwined into this organization that's stealing artifacts from China. Let's take a quick break from this episode to talk about Attention all Ray Taylor Show fans! We're excited to announce we've just released a line of exclusive merchandise featuring original artwork inspired by the show. Our high-quality shirts and biodegradable phone cases are a perfect way to show your support for the show and make a great gift for any fan. Plus, with each purchase, you'll be helping us continue to bring you great content. So don't wait. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com now and check out the full collection. Thanks for listening, and we hope you'll show your support by grabbing some Ray Taylor Show merchandise today. And now, let's get back to the show. So Jackie gets back on the train, and you see that the old man was trying to steal this priceless artifact, but ended up with the ginseng. Jackie gets the artifact. Back home, we see his mom has the girls over for some mahjong. They're gambling, playing some mahjong, and as soon as they see that the dad's home, they like hide everything, and she's pretending to care for them while they're on their periods or whatever. Absolutely hilarious. And Jackie knows that she's covering up. Like, the connection that he has with his stepmom is amazing. Then the guy shows up for the ginseng, and Jackie asks, or Fei-hung asks his mom to help cover for him. It's like, the ginseng got stolen. We need to cover for this guy. And she tells this other guy, Joe, the friend, to eat cyanide because, he's like, he knew he would be to blame for everything, and she ends up, it's such a funny moment, and I'm completely butchering explaining it. But they end up giving him like some root from one of the dad's like favorite dwarf pine trees or whatever to replace. She at first tries to give him this giant. I forget what the vegetable was, but this giant like root, and trying to say that was ginseng. Hilarious. You see the metal factory. The factory workers are being forced to work overtime without pay, and you see how they're getting upset, and they're doing this because the British people that own the company are using the steel to transfer these artifacts, right? That's the cover they're using for exporting these artifacts. Then cut to the market where Fei-hung is going to get some groceries, and you see one of the girls that's working at the market loves drunken boxing. She's got this thing for Fei-hung, right? And then there's a fishmonger that's jealous of that and doesn't think drunk boxing's great. So when Fei-hung shows up, he forces them into an exhibition match to show everybody in the market. So you end up getting kind of a great fight scene in this, just getting a glimpse of the drunken boxing, which we haven't really seen, aside from Jackie and the old man earlier. So fun little exhibition match there. You have the mom trying to sell jewelry to pay for, so she can go buy ginseng to replace. Meanwhile, the guys who are looking for the artifact think that she has it, and that's what they think that she's trying to sell to get money. Right? So it's already things are starting to get mixed up together, and one of the women gets their purse stolen, and Fei-hung, and they're stealing the purse to then blackmail them into trading them for the artifact. But Fei-hung gets the purse back, and the mom knows that the gangsters set it up. Like, they're trying to hold back and having these guys that they hired steal the purse and all this stuff. But she knew what they were trying to do, and she ends up getting a punch to the face. So then you have Fei-hung fighting all of them, right? And there's this amazing scene, one of many in this movie, where he throws the purse back. She's like, give me the purse, you're going to get it busted, as he's like beating up these guys. And he throws it, and there's this scene where she's just, the mom's just standing there, all the people who are watching this standing around her, and she just stands up with her arms straight up in the air and snatches it out of the air. It's such a great moment. So he fights them, throws the purse back. Then she starts talking up her son and telling him to use the drunken boxing, right? Like, this is great promotion. We got all these people watching you fight these guys. Like, you need to use the drunken boxing to promote your father's martial arts business, right? So she's convincing him to do it because there's this big crowd, right? 4-on-1 fighting Fei-hung, right? And people are accusing him of not really being drunk, right? So she's like, she runs inside and grabs all these bottles of booze and tells them to put it on her husband's tab. And then she just starts throwing these bottles of thing, and he, drinks it. And it's so great when he starts drinking that now it almost feels like Fei-hung is like defying gravity at moments. Like, there's one where he's doing a backbend drinking, and the guy he was leaning on leaves, and he maintains the backbend. There's stuff where he almost does like that Michael Jackson Smooth Criminal lean. It's so cool, these minor moments where it almost feels like he's defying gravity. Then, of course, the dad shows up, and at this point, Fei-hung's drunk and doesn't know it's his dad and is fighting back. And he finds out about the dad finds out about the necklace. And to cover for everything, the stepmom pretends to be pregnant, right? She takes responsibility for everything. But then, to avoid her getting punished by her husband, she pretends to be pregnant and cries like Lucille Ball. Like, I love this character. His stepmom is the best. So he finds out the fake ginseng almost killed the guy. And then the dad beats Fei-hung and forces him to drink more wine, right? And disowns him. So in some ways, kind of similar to the first movie. But make sure that their servant guy, Joe or whatever, finds him. Like, no, he went left, not right, when he goes out to go keep an eye on him. So it's like he disowns him, but he still wants to keep an eye on him to make sure everything goes okay. So then later, you have Fei-hung at a restaurant just drinking, right? He's already plastered, disowned by his dad, so he's just drinking even more. And the gangsters show up. The boss guy of the gangsters shows up, and he's like, I want to see this drunk guy that beat all you guys up. But of course, now Fei-hung can't fight because he's too drunk. He got too drunk. So what they end up doing, they string him up in like the town square or whatever with a sign on him to shame him and his family. So dad cuts him down, brings him home, and the dad is talking about why he forbids drunken boxing, right? About how alcohol is a substance that makes you think that you have abilities, but you can easily drink too much and go overboard, and then it becomes a disadvantage if you have too much, right? And there's this thing that, like, water is good for you, but you can also drown in it, right? Like, there's this balance that you have to have, and that people aren't good at finding that balance. So then you have the old master showing up, the guy that Jackie fought at the beginning of the movie. And his mom assumes that this guy is one of the gangsters, or the gangsters sent him, right? So they have a little fighting moment, which is pretty great. And, of course, the dad knows who this old man is. He's this military hero. So cut to everybody searching everywhere inside for this artifact, right? And the assistant was actually using the artifact as a pistol, grinding up herbs in a mortar, which is just like, oh, it's horrible. But they find it, and then Fei-hung and the old man, later on, they're in a restaurant, getting to know each other, right? And this old man explaining the importance of the artifact, right? And they want to keep it from the British people who are stealing their culture, right? Which we see museums in the UK full of artifacts from countries that they stole the artifacts from, you know? So they realize that this restaurant is empty, and Fei-hung looks outside, and the whole town, the whole square is empty, and all of a sudden they start getting attacked by these guys with hatchets, like 40 dudes with hatchets, and this is an amazing fight sequence with Fei-hung and this old guy fighting off all these people. Fei-hung on the bottom floor, the old guy on the top floor. And you have Fei-hung on the ground using benches like nunchucks. Insane fight. You have Fei-hung using this giant piece of bamboo, right? As dudes come in with their ladders, right? He's up on the top floor with the old guy now. Has this giant piece of bamboo that's starting to get splintered and split apart. And all these guys, and he's like using it, like raking people's faces, cutting people. Old guy gets a hatchet to his back, but he still keeps fighting after he collapses the staircase on a bunch of people, using the frayed bamboo to slice people up, right? Or using it like they has a shirt wrapped around it, so he opens it up and people like punch in, and he closes it up almost like a finger trap type of a thing. And then their friends show up. Fei-hung's friends show up, who are part of like his father's academy or whatever, to help out. And Master Fu, the old guy, ends up getting shot, right? They're going after the artifact that these guys were there for, but he ends up getting shot. Like, the dude had an axe in his back and then ends up getting shot twice. So now the British have the artifact, and Fei-hung's like, I'm going to get this back, along with his friend. And they both decide to sneak in separately into, like, the British man's home or whatever this building is, right, where all the British people are, and their military people. And Fei-hung's in disguise. The other guy's just kind of sneaking in, and they run into each other, and they see, like, oh, we're both here. And pretty great. They're on the same page, and they end up in this ballroom where everybody is waiting for them. Right, photographer gets a picture of them. All the armed guards are there. Like, they are just laughing at them because they knew they were going to come in. And they put them in a prison where they both get beaten. And these same guys, these British guys that run the factory, are going to close the steel factory. They got what they needed, right, to get to export these artifacts. So they have no more need for this factory, so they just lay everybody off, right? And they're trying to buy up Fei-hung's dad's land. Like, they're just trying to get back at everybody that was trying to keep them from stealing these artifacts. Let's take a quick break from this episode because I want to promote. Are you looking for a way to take your love of the Ray Taylor Show to the next level? Look no further than Inspired Disorder Plus. As a member, you'll get access to a whole host of amazing perks, including the full week of shows, ad-free in both audio and video versions, a live painting archive, early access to the many faces, members-only discounts and deals, a podcast back catalog with over 600 episodes. But that's not all. As a member, you'll get access to my personal blog as well as my creative writing. You'll also get the chance to ask me anything you want. With all of these benefits and more, Inspired Disorder Plus is a must-have for any fan of the Ray Taylor Show. So don't wait. Go sign up now. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus and start enjoying all of the amazing perks of the membership. And now, let's get back to the show. So they find out what they're using the steel shipping containers for, that they're, shipping these artifacts underneath these steel rods. His dad leaves to go help the drought victims that he was trying to raise money for, but then everybody thought he was raising money like that was a cover because they were having hard times. Like, the miscommunication adds so much comedy to this, but also, like, all the different aspects that are at play in this movie are so well done. His mom's still pretending to be pregnant this whole time. So they come and get Fei-hung to fight, right? We're going to go to this factory. We've got to fight these managers, get our artifacts back. And his mom wants to help, but they convince her not to because she's pregnant, right? You have a baby. You should stay here. She's like, oh, yeah, okay. I guess I'll stay here. And she tells Fei-hung, don't you dare get killed or I'll never talk to you. I'll never speak to you again for as long as you live. A hilarious line. I love that character so much. And then there's a moment where she tosses a fan, like he's writing that saying about water on the fan, tosses it to him, and he has a similar cool catch that she had with the purse. And then you have there's a big battle outside of the factory, right? You have the students of Fei-hung's dad, along with the factory workers fighting the factory owners and the British soldiers with guns. And Fei-hung tells them not to use the guns when they get them, so they just break the guns on the ground, and everybody's just fighting hand to hand, which is great. So Fei-hung goes inside to rescue one of the workers that's still trapped inside, right? And there's this dude and then it's like we have the final battles of this movie, which are amazing, inside this factory. The first dude that shows up is wearing like a Indiana Jones hat, no shirt, and has, instead of a whip, has this giant chain that he's dragging behind him, right? At one point, Jackie's shoes catch on fire, and like a friend throws water into the air, and Fei-hung does a jumping kick to kick the water, to extinguish his shoes that were on fire. Just so badass. Like, just that moment is badass. Then you have Fei-hung trying to reason with the other Chinese workers that are there to help him because the British are stealing their culture, right? Trying to get them on their side and helping them when they're like hurt or about to get hurt while he's being attacked by other guys, right? But of course, it doesn't work because capitalism, people will sell. When we have a society based on capitalism, it's just like people resort to kind of the worst aspects of themselves. Then you have the manager throwing this flaming alcohol on him, on other people that are on the manager's side, right? But of course, he doesn't care. And Jackie trying to help Fei-hung trying to help the employee that the manager set on fire. And other employees are trying to fight Fei-hung, but realizing that he's trying to help them. So you have one of the managers has like super fast kicks, right? Thunder legs. So kind of in some ways a reference to the assassin in the first movie. And Fei-hung ends up having to grab him just to tie him up, just to keep him from kicking him, just ties him up, grabs him, has his legs wrapped around him. Amazing. They're like, he's shoving his chin into his eyeball socket to try and hurt him because he can't move. And then another manager gets a metal rod out of the furnace and hits Jackie's legs with it. This burning rod, burning his legs. And then Fei-hung, in one of the crazy stunts of this movie, Fei-hung gets kicked into this pit of flaming coals. Right? So he's all burnt up now, in pain. You see like the practical effects on Fei-hung's hands all look like they've been burnt up in this thing, right? In pain, burnt up. And the manager sees the fan that he has and laughs at it, the saying on it, water is good for us, but we can also drown in it. And Fei-hung sees the containers of the alcohol that they were using to stoke the flames. And like Popeye with spinach, takes the cork out and starts to drink it, blowing fire at first that was lit by like blowing the alcohol, and then it combusts when it hits the hot metal rod that the manager is using. So he's like just blowing fire on these guys, which is amazing. And then he gets a couple drinks in and it's on, right? He spits on a rod and it ignites into fire, puts a smile on his face. Like, and he's also like kind of, wow, did I do that kind of a thing? He ends up drinking more and kind of exhales smoke, then like forces himself to puke, like that he just drank a little bit too much. He realized he went overboard, so he's going to puke a little bit out just to get at the right amount. And then in this scene, he's almost levitating as he's charging forward towards one of these manager guys, right? And the guy tries to leg shuffle thing, and Fei-hung just like kicks his leg down. At this point, we are seeing the angry drunk boxing, right? We had the smooth, cool drunk boxing before. We had the normal fighting before. And now we're seeing like the next gear that Fei-hung has when he's not only drunk but also pissed, and doesn't have the patience for the leg shuffle thing from this thunder kick guy. And there's a moment where even mid-fight, Jackie's fighting this guy with the crazy kicks, and he just walks away. He just walks away, and the guy's like still fighting, going like, what happened? We were fighting. He's like kicking the air. He's all confused. And at first I thought he was going to go get more to drink, and he just goes over and just starts bashing a crate, like just bashing it apart, just out of anger, just like, bashes this crate, and it's like goes back to fighting. It's like, whoa, right? This is a whole new level of Fei-hung that we haven't seen, where he's just like, fuck all, like this. Fighting you isn't even enough to get my aggression out. I have to go destroy this crate real quick, and then I'll get back to dealing with you afterwards. Amazing. And after that, he body slams the guy through another crate and then burps a bubble. And that is where we get no audio. We get, right after this fight, right, there's this big congratulations thing. We don't get any of the audio, and I checked online. It's a common thing, and it's basically them, the family, getting recognition for what they did, and then this guy who plays his uncle in Police Story goes to see Fei-hung, and apparently Fei-hung, because he drank the industrial strength alcohol, has brain damage and is kind of acting like somebody who has a mental disability, which, is one reason why they could just cut the scene out completely. But he lost his mind, made him go crazy. And then the audio kicks in for the outtakes, which are great. Seeing all the stunts they did with the fire, a lot of fire in this one, and actually using hot metals. Like there's a scene where Jackie's holding up a stool or something, and the hot metal pierces through it, burns through it, and they were using something that actually did that. And the fire pit scene with the coals, all of that stuff, blowing the bubble, the difficulty in trying to blow the perfect bubble, all great. All that stuff is amazing. A great movie. I forgot how epic the fight scenes were in this movie. And not a direct sequel necessarily to the first, more kind of another story featuring the same character. Almost like the Indiana Jones movies, like Temple of Doom wasn't necessarily a direct sequel to the other one. And definitely presents the Drunken Master as more of a folk hero. This guy that protected Chinese artifacts from the British stealing. Amazing. And aside from the crazy loss of audio at the end of the movie, and him being mentally ill, disabled from the alcohol, I absolutely love this movie and very happy that I purchased it, and it's now part of my collection. And I'm also thankful for all of you who tuned in to this episode of The Ray Taylor Show. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on The Legend of Drunken Master, a.k.a. Drunken Master II. Don't forget to tune in every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for more movie and TV show reviews. And join the conversation by leaving a comment or rating on your favorite podcast platform or over on youtube.com/inspireddisorder if you are watching this, as all episodes are available in video versions as well. Until next time, enjoy the show. Subscribe to The Ray Taylor Show on YouTube and everywhere podcasts are found. Binge the full week ad-free over at inspireddisorder.com/plus. Purchase Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!
Today is the day where you wake up and you realize that everything that you've been dreaming about, everything that you've been wanting, every goal and wish and hope that you've ever had can become real. Dreams can come true. What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.